Let it be recorded on the scrolls. December the 2nd, the year 2018, the Mississippi Law Enforcement Officer Training Academy will start MHP Cadet Class number 63.
In 1938, the Magnolia State witnessed the birth of a new agency, the Mississippi Highway Patrol. For over 80 years, proud men and women have served to protect its citizens, many giving the ultimate sacrifice for their service. Not just anyone can wear the blue and gray uniform. That privilege must be earned by shedding blood, sweat, and tears, enduring some of the toughest training on the planet. After all, if everyone could be a state trooper, we wouldn't be the Mississippi Highway Patrol. We weren't officers. We're proud of this country and this great state. It takes an overwhelming commitment and dedication to reach graduation day. At times, it seems to require a superhuman effort just to finish the 5 months of training. Join us now and witness what it takes to mold our men and women into Mississippi's finest.
I'm Captain John Perkins, Director of Training for the Mississippi Highway Patrol. I have 26 years service. I'm currently stationed out of headquarters in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm responsible for all training for the Mississippi Highway Patrol, to include in-service, and oversee the operation of Mississippi Highway Patrol cadet classes. A couple of things that I would tell someone that wants to come to patrol school is, first of all, you need to be physically prepared to endure the program. It's 22 weeks and it's physically torturous on your body. Second thing is that you need to have the right mental mindset. You've made a commitment. It's not going to be easy, and there's going to be times where you're going to wonder, am I going to make it through the next minute, the next hour, the next day? You have to stay focused on what you committed yourself to and see it through to the end. Also, are you willing to put yourself in harm's way and the dangers that you're going to face out there on the highways? It's a dangerous job. Sometimes it's a thankless job. You're going to work in all weather conditions. You're going to be treated ugly sometimes, and you have to be prepared to endure that. You're going to see death, and it may be children. So you have to make sure you're mentally prepared for all the stresses and dangers of the job. Well, some of the things we look for in our training staff when making those selections is their mindset. We have to make sure that they're coming here for the right reasons. They have to have a passion for what they do. They have to understand that TAC is training, advising, and counseling. So you have to learn to be a mentor, advisor, counselor. Cadets deal with personal problems while they're here, in addition to the stresses of the training. So you have to know how to blend all that together. Sometimes you're hard, sometimes you have to take your foot off the gas and be soft. Sometimes cadets respond to certain methods, and then the next week they may not, so you have to change. You have to always be flexible and be willing to change, stop, think about what we're doing and results we're getting. Are we getting the desired results? And make adjustments on the fly. That's a huge part of the success of the program. Some of the things a new TAC officer can expect is, number one, a fast pace. I mean, it's 22 weeks, patrol school is, but we have a lot of instruction has to be put into that 22 weeks. It's over 1,100 hours of instruction the cadets receive. So there's not a lot of downtime. We have to maximize every second we have. They can expect not to get a lot of rest. We're up before the cadets, and we go to bed after the cadets. It's a learning process for them. Even an experienced TAC officer learns something every class. I've been training a long time, with my military experience and Highway Patrol, and there's things I've learned in this class.
Tack 'em high, tack 'em low, tack 'em everywhere we go.
There is one thing that remains constant in patrol school, and that is the presence of the TAC officer. We have kept our standards high when it comes to TACs. They are the best of the best. We want officers who seek a challenge and aren't afraid of tough physical and mental training.
Lieutenant Philip Coffey, Assistant Training Director with the Mississippi Highway Patrol in the Training Division. As Assistant Training Director, there's a lot of responsibilities that occur. I'm responsible for making sure that the program run correctly on a day-to-day operation, to make sure that all the TACs follow the schedule, adhere to the schedule, and that each cadet get trained in the adequate time that's allotted from the time that they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to the time that they lay down at 2300 at night. As the lead instructor, being a lieutenant here, also as being the lead instructor, I teach driving, I engage in firearms, I engage in stop and approach, but my lead class is driving. And I spend about 40 hours a whole week with the cadet that come through the program. I've been wearing this uniform for 21 years, and this uniform means to me, it's a personal onset that I feel like something that I have earned, that I will forever uphold as long as I wear this uniform. I will forever be proud of it. I will forever hold to the cadet creed, never embarrassing myself or another officer or anyone on the Mississippi Highway Patrol. I will forever cherish it, and it is personal to me, and I would just continue to wear it proudly, and I hope that all other troopers would do the same.
Neil Tadlock, I'm a Master Sergeant with the Mississippi Highway Patrol. I've been in the Training Division for 5 years now. I'm permanently assigned to MHP's Training Division. Why I want to be a TAC officer or a trooper with the Mississippi Highway Patrol, it goes back years ago when you would see a trooper and you would see the professionalism that they displayed, whether it was their uniform, their boots, how they carried themselves, or just their overall physical appearance. TAC officer has been something that you just eye from when I went through the basic program here 13 years ago. It was one of those deals to where you would see, we actually had a patrol school going on when I was going through the police academy, and I saw those TAC officers. I saw the way they conducted themselves and how professional they were in the training environment that the actual cadets were going through at that time. And that sparked my interest, and it never went away. And when I went through patrol school, those same TAC officers, some of them were different at that point, but a lot of them was just the way they conducted themselves, the training they gave us while we were going through the training itself just stuck with me, and it was something that I always wanted.
Get up, slide in your house shoes, sit in front of your TV, and watch the news.
Trooper First Class, Alfredo Hernandez, C-23. I'm assigned to Troop C, Rankin County. I'm currently assigned to the Training Academy for this Cadet Class 63. Well, ever since I came through patrol school, I came out of Class 60 back in 2011. It's one of my dreams this is something that I always wanted to do. I kind of liked the whole experience from molding somebody, somebody that comes with different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and just the mindset that a lot of them come through thinking that this is going to be just like any other school, and they have no idea when they come here how to prepare themselves before they get here. And but I knew that this is something that I always wanted to do. I was fortunate enough to be part of Class 62 last year, and I was kind of behind the scenes learning myself, because it's a learning process that you have to go through. And this one, I do have a little more, let's say, experience behind it. I kind of learned from some mistakes and some things that I was involved last year that that I took that in consideration to kind of move a few things around to make this one better. Qualifications to be a TAC officer. You go through a panel interview. All the candidates go through a panel interview, and once you get there, they ask you a series of questions, and then from that, they select you.
My name is Eric Henry. My rank is Master Sergeant. I'm assigned to the Jackson District, and my job is the Director over Recruiting. I've been on the patrol since 2007, so I'll be going into my 12th year. Why did I want to become a TAC officer? Well, the first reason is I wanted to give the cadets some type of good moral backgrounds that I have. I wanted them to have a demeanor to where they're doing this from the heart, and it's not just a job. I've been in certain situations, and I believe that what I've learned through the years, I can pass that down to the younger generation that's coming on the patrol. And we just want the patrol to have the best men and women to come out here and represent the state of Mississippi and be able to enforce the laws and be comfortable in doing that. And I think I have what it takes to give them that knowledge and that courage and that push they need to become the best troopers out here on the road.
These dedicated men and women are responsible for the cadets' training and welfare during their time at the training academy, and they take their work seriously.
Bernard Harper Law, Mississippi, Sergeant, Highway Patrol, been on 13 years. This is my second class attack. I attacked Class 62. I've learned a lot so far. Learned a lot in Class 62 and even more in Class 63. My primary responsibility is drilling ceremony, along with Staff Sergeant Joe Johnson. Both of us pretty much spearhead that along with a lot of other TACs. It's got a lot of military experience. It's hard to do by yourself, so it's basically a team effort. One reason I wanted to become a TAC is the fact that just professionalism that they show. But what attracted me most of all to it was the fact that going in the military and seeing what those drill instructors do, the professionalism they display, just a subject matter expert that knew everything that the soldiers done basically from A to Z. And then coming on the highway patrol, seeing how professional and squared away they were, I always looked up to them, and it was just a goal that I always had to strive to be the best and set that example that they set for me.
Many believe that patrol school is all about physical endurance, but that is only a small portion of a cadet's daily routine.
My name is TFC Marcus Barnett. I'm assigned to Madison and Yazoo County. I've been with the Highway Patrol since December of 2011. One of the main things I focus on is helping with the driving program that we have set up out here. That's a passion that I have, and it's something that I enjoy doing. One of the greatest things I see about being on a tag team is just the camaraderie that you guys come together with, just knowing that you have a band of brothers and could even be a sister that have one goal in common, and that goal is to train the future troopers for the agency. And it's nothing like standing back from the outside looking in, seeing where this product came from and just how far it has expanded and how it has just blossomed. It's almost like a flower from the beginning stages to the graduation day when it blooms, and that's the way we are as techs. We view it as something that we have to constantly work on together and just become just better.
We got 3 backups. See, y'all talking too low. You better not screw that up. You retired, bowhead. You retired, bowhead.
I'm Josh Clark. I'm a corporal with the Mississippi Highway Patrol. I'm stationed in District 4, Troop F out of New Albany District. When I first come on the patrol, I was sent to District 3, which is the Batesville District. I stayed there about 4.5 years. I've been on the patrol for 12 years now, and I'm TAC officer for Class 63. This is my second time to be a TAC officer. Well, I'm tasked for, my main thing that I teach is stop and approach, to the cadets, and this is the second time that I've taught stop and approach, and it's something that, you know, that's one of the biggest things that the cadets deal with on a daily basis is stopping cars, whether it be a wreck or a 1058 vehicle, a stranded motorist, or just a regular traffic stop to make sure somebody's obeying the state laws and to make sure that they're traveling the Mississippi roadways safely.
What you see? It's not gonna happen. You didn't prepare yourself. Well, you're sitting there.
My name is Trooper First Class Cedric Jackson. I'm currently assigned to the MHP Training Division. I have 7 years of service. My main responsibility is the PT program. Myself and Trooper Hernandez are heading that up. We're responsible for waking up in the morning times, doing the PT with them, and getting their program together. If someone's lacking in a certain area, we're the ones that come in, see what they're lacking, and try to build them up in those certain areas as far as like ab strength or upper body strength. I can truly say I became a trooper because I've always looked up to him. I was a Hattiesburg cop before I became a trooper, and I saw a trooper, and I looked up to him, almost like a big brother, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And when I finally became one, it was one of the happiest times of my life.
Doggone horrible! Get your butt out that doggone door! Hurry up!
Sergeant Wade Zimmerman. I'm from Clinton, Mississippi. I've been assigned to Enforcement Division for 16 years now, stationed out of Yazoo in Madison County, Troop C. So during this school, I've been charged with doing driving and defensive tactics, active shooter, and pretty much just filling in where help is needed. As far as being a training officer, attack officer, is something that we volunteer for. We asked for this job. And I think through the interviews, the administration understands that the guys that want to be here, want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, is relevant. You take our current group, nobody is above one another. We're out here for a sole purpose, a mission, and that is to train, produce, mold the next generation of highway patrol. And we don't take it lightly. We take it very serious. Each one of us has our certain skill set that we're good at. It may be yelling, it may be just trying to motivate and help others. But for me personally, you know, I've been wanting to take several classes, and I finally got the opportunity, and it's everything I thought it was and more, to be a part of something bigger than me.
My name is Jerome Moore. I work out of District 6, Meridian. I've been on since 2007, working on to my 12th year. About to finish up working on my 12th. I'm a driving instructor and also an active shooter instructor for the state. The reason I wanted to be a TAC officer is because it's a enjoyment watching them go from when they get here on day one. Just a mob, just a group of guys that, you know, some had prior laws, a lot of people didn't. To see them go from just a normal citizen to a squared away Mississippi State Trooper, and just watching that and giving them something that, you know, that can provide them something that hopefully to get them home each night.
And start talking to them. Everything in here, you're going to.
Master Sergeant William Kemp. I've been on starting 12 years, Troop H Enforcement Division. I've done my whole career in enforcement. I've been on the SOG team since graduating patrol school in 2007. Primary job down here in patrol school is to oversee and teach defensive tactics. Also being a team leader on the TAC staff. You know, day one to a particular TAC officer or a group of TACs is, you know, you kind of want to bond, you want to come together, and it start out that day one's very crucial, very big on setting the tone and the pace of the class, getting everything set up behind the scenes, because that particular cadet or group of cadets have no idea what's in store for them. Basically, just want to start out strong and get the minds and the attention of the cadets, and you know, whether it's day one in the TAC shack getting a haircut, you know, there's a line of us waiting for them. And there's TAC officers scattered throughout the barracks, also outside. So wherever that cadet runs, he's bound to run into a TAC officer. And you know, that particular cadet's getting several different commands to see if he can actually carry out the order.
I'm Trooper First Class William Carr. I'm assigned to District 7, which is Troop J out of Hattiesburg. I currently work in Wayne and Greene counties on the road as a trooper. I came to the Mississippi Highway Patrol in 2011. I was graduating Class 60, so I've been on with them going on approximately 8 years now. Well, I think I decided I wanted to be a state trooper probably in 2008. I came through the basic class here in Malota, which was Class 221, as a conservation officer. Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks hired me on, and great agency, but I saw troopers that was, of course, all over the county, whether we were training or working together, and they just had a prestige about them, and they always seemed to be striving for more training. And I've always been wired to where I want to do more training and want to get better. So that's initially what sparked my interest. Being a TAC officer is a role that, looking on the outside in, I didn't really understand everything that was involved. Anybody that's ever been a trooper, of course, you go through patrol school, and you always hold those TAC officers to the highest level of respect because they're the ones that put their time in, spend all the days and nights with you going through, for the most part, the same training that you're having to go through. So it could be their second, third, fourth class. However, it was my first doing this, and as a TAC officer, I first wanted just to instill the knowledge that I could that would make me a better cadet to the cadets that I'm training. There are so many little things that I did not know as a cadet that I felt like I could give them some insight on to be better. And with that, that also is going to help them be sharper on the road when they graduate to be a better trooper. And as the program goes on, I can instill some of my life experiences on the road, as well as my education as far as dealing with different things outside of patrol to kind of help all blend together. Because being a trooper is not just going out there working the highway writing tickets. There is many aspects with being a patrol, whether you're going to be a shoulder to cry on for a family member that's lost a loved one, and at the same time you have to turn that switch and step up and be the tough guy, as whether you're going to make a traffic stop on the way home from leaving that fatal accident scene, to whether you're just going into a school or being seen to represent the highway patrol for the kids, because that's what our future is all about, whether it's in the world or the highway patrol, is the young children. My specialty as a TAC officer is going to be the driving instructor. Of course, Lieutenant Coffey has been the lead instructor for driving for many, many classes, probably 5 to 6 classes. However, I was fortunate enough to be one of them to go to Oklahoma and get my certification as a driving instructor and to help carry on that role.
My name is Joe Johnson. I'm a senior staff sergeant with the Mississippi Highway Patrol. I've been on patrol for 22 years. Well, the reason I wanted to be a TAC officer is that I have a lot of experience on the highway, and I can pass it along to the younger generation. Day one with the Highway Patrol is we all get together. The colonel, and then the TAC officer get together. We go eat breakfast that morning. Just have fellowship, and after breakfast, we'll go back to the academy. We'll do a walkthrough of what we're going to do on the first day when the cadets get here to the day they go to bed. The finding their bunks and their name on the bunks and putting their clothes away, and you have TAC officers guiding them from the barracks to the classroom. And when they enter the classroom, we'll teach them how to enter the classroom. And take a seat and wait for further instruction. Well, if a person comes to me, if I'm just out and about, either at Walmart or somewhere just having dinner or something like that, they come up to me and say that they want to go to patrol school, and what is patrol school like? Well, I would tell them if you want to go to patrol school, start exercising now, because there's no limit to what you're going to do in patrol school. I mean, from the day you wake up to the day you go to bed, there's no telling how many miles you're going to run, how many push-ups you're going to do. So just have your mind set for patrol school, because there's no limit to what we're gonna be doing that on a day-to-day basis. After I had joined the National Guard and I started drilling at my home unit, there were some military guys there that were really squared away, and once I seen them come to drill one morning with their highway patrol uniform on, and I looked at how sharp they looked, the way they spoke, the way they approach it, I said, that's when I decided I wanted to be one.
My name is Lee Houston. I'm a Master Sergeant with the Mississippi Highway Patrol, and I'm currently assigned to the firing range at Mississippi Law Enforcement Officers Training Academy. I've been on the Highway Patrol for approximately 12 years, a little over 12 years, and one of my primary duties is to instruct recruits and cadets that come through the academy on how to shoot. So if someone approached me about maybe asking what they should do to prepare for patrol school, obviously there's a lot of running involved and a lot of really crazy physical workouts. I would probably steer them away from the gym and weights, and I would tell them just to do more running and maybe push-ups and pull-ups and that kind of thing, mostly body weight stuff. And I think more common or more important than that would be the mental aspect of it. I think you've definitely got to have your head, you got to be mentally prepared for what's coming, just because it's so taxing physically and mentally on your body. The patrol to me is just, it's a great agency, and one of the reasons why I wanted to be a TAC officer in patrol school is because I want to carry on the tradition of the training. Obviously, since I went through it, I want everybody else to get the uniform the same way I did.
He might be finna cut.
I think, I mean, the patrol has been great to me. I've worked the road for, like I said, 12 years, and met a lot of good people. And to me, I think the biggest thing is just about the pride of earning it, and the brotherhood that we have of wearing the uniform.
Hurry up, hurry up. I don't have all that gun day. Hurry up. Hurry up.
You know, we got a script that we go by, and it's pretty much everything we do here is done day by day, day to day. A lot of stuff's on the fly, but beginning on that first day of patrol school, you got to keep in mind, probably 6 months out at the minimum, 4 to 6 months out, we've started mentally preparing, physically preparing, all the logistics, all the stuff it takes to have patrol school. Once we get here, we have basically a script that we go by, and I mean that time hack is almost by to the minute. I mean, you're moving. You know, you got 80 cadets here, sometimes 100, depending on the class, and you got to be point A to point B at a certain time. So everything we do is scripted. Everything we do is, I say scripted, is planned, prior plan.
Day one patrol school is what can best be described as organized chaos. Everything is organized from the TAC officer's standpoint. The cadets may not see it, but it's absolutely organized. Every TAC officer's got a place that they have to be. They have a certain job assignment that they have to do during day one. They'll come in, they'll sign in. There'll be 2 or 3 TAC officers that'll sign them in, check their identification, make sure their paperwork is in order. They'll also be given a bunk assignment. The TAC officers standing in the hallway to give them their bunk assignment. From then, they'll be told to go upstairs to the TAC shack to get a haircut. Once they enter the TAC shack, that's where the organized chaos comes into play, or rather the chaos portion. It's loud, music blaring, there's TAC officers on bullhorns, giving them these haircuts, asking them questions from a cadet manual that had been given to them at least a month prior. So most of the time, the cadets will completely be stressed out at this point. Being in this profession, you have to be able to think and act under stressful conditions, and this is where day one of that stress is introduced to
to a cadet?
Day one is mass chaos. It's, you know, it's a system overload. You don't know, from my experience, especially as a cadet back in '07, you don't know if you're going or coming or what you're supposed to be doing. It's just, it's just mind blowing. But then by the end of the patrol school, you understand you can take all of that, and it's just, your mind's trained to be able to take all that mass chaos and control it and control yourself and get everything figured out.
The critical courses here are a lot more. The curriculum for several different things we do as a trooper out in the field, versus Marine Corps boot camp is it's a lot similar, but it's also a lot more college-style classes, a lot more college-style hours. A lot of cadets here not only going through physical pressure, but they're also going through mental pressure of actually passing these courses and graduating the program.
We sit and we create the type of exercises, for this. It's a madness to it, You don't want to just come here and just do push-ups, so we try to balance it between, upper body, lower body, and core exercises, along with your conditioning, which is, you're running for this like long distance running or circuit training or, sprints, kind of, changing different body types at the time because you don't want to, get hurt and not be able to reach their goal, which is, graduate. But we do have, like I said, even for the CAT training, the corrective action training that we do, if they do anything wrong, how to discipline and make corrections on that. We do go by a list that on Sundays when they come in, it'll be, if they got to do any CAT training, it will be full body, just alternating body parts. On Mondays, we focus just on, if you have to do some correction action training, we'll focus on the upper body. On Tuesday, we do lower body. On Wednesday, we go back to upper body. And on Thursday, we go back to lower body. Just so we can give the body a little bit of time to rest and because, it's a lot of work and pounding on their bodies. And a lot of the, cadets, they, from 21 years of age to 48 years of age. So if a body of a 21-year-old hurts, you can imagine what a 40-year-old feels like.
Yeah, we have a form. It has every exercise on the form. We go through there, we pick out an exercise, we count the reps. So we try to stick to that program. Sometimes we'll probably go out, do some little agility workouts or speed drills on the short track. Those things aren't on the form, but as far as like the actual program, it's all on paper. For cadets showing up day one to patrol school, I would recommend that you hydrate yourself, fully hydrate. I say not just water, Pedialyte, Gatorade. You need those electrolytes. You'll find out that in the first 20 minutes you're here, that hydration is very important. Along with hydrating yourself, I would recommend that you do a lot of cardio. It's not about being strong, big. You're only working with your body weight. So I say do a lot of cardio. I say the smaller you are, the better you are, because you're only working with your body weight. It's like nothing you've ever been through in your life. And the people who come here on that first day, you have to be mentally strong. Not just physically, but mentally there. If you're not, you'll leave early.
I'm Master Sergeant Marty Davis. I'm assigned to Troop K, District 8. I also serve on the Special Operations Group, commonly called the SOG team. I'm the Southern team leader on the SOG team, and I do most of the training. SOG team, very interesting. It's a unique operation of the Highway Patrol. Has a unique mission, which is basically anything outside the realm of a normal trooper's daily duties. It brings us into a mobile field force. A lot of departments call it mobile field force. That is the Special Operations Group of the Highway Patrol. What it does brings us into a regimented squad, platoon type. One of the most common things that we respond to is natural or man-made disasters. tornadoes, hurricanes. That brings the mobile field force or the structured operations into it, where you can assign platoons or squads of troopers acting in those type of formations rather than an individual trooper operation. He falls under orders and the guidance of the command of that platoon. That is probably the most common. I think it's the most rewarding because you can see as these areas are devastated, they must have the security before they can start building power, water, or other things. Another thing that we usually do, any kind of civil disturbance. This is the riot team of the state of Mississippi. We're prepared for the civil disturbance. We train for riots and do everything we can to prevent the riot. We come train to the cadet class. We have basically one day to train them and familiarize them with what the Special Operations Group is. I give them an overview of what the Special Operations Group is and what it may encounter. The main thing that we have to do with them is get them introduced to the formations of our riot team and our civil disturbance operations. In the event that we do have a riot, it would require more personnel than what we have on the SOG team. It could very easily, that number could very easily require every trooper on the highway patrol. That's the reason that's a critical class for them to have. No way can we teach this cadet class how to respond to a riot, but we can teach them how to respond, how to fall into a formation and what it's going to look like and what it's composed of it. And what a mass arrest is, what a crowd is. One of the biggest things I want them to understand is how we use this force. It is very much an organized and a disciplined order and command on how we respond to a civil disturbance. And one thing I try to stress to them in that, it can take a lot of people can make a civil disturbance, but one officer can make a riot. And we want to make sure that they understand the discipline that is required in that type of environment and that type of response. We start the training day here with the cadets with the classroom portion. I have a PowerPoint that I kind of go over the overview of what the SOG is here for, what a mobile field force is, because there will be other departments in other states and other things that refer to this as a mobile field force. That's the most common term for it, which is basically, it is the regimented structure of this type of force. So I try to get them to understand that we have that is basically what we do. Then give them an overview of what type of missions that we have, protecting critical infrastructure, strategic national stockpile, as well as any other disasters that we've spoken that may be encountered for. Overall, on top of the list that we get called for will be civil disturbance and this crowd control. So I try to explain everything as much as I can to them that this is what it looks like. This is what happens when large crowds gather. They need a large department, and that is what we're trained for in the Special Operations Group. Once we get the classroom portion of it done, I try to bring them out to the skid pan, and at that point I'll have our SOG team dressed in uniform, and they can see what a Special Operations Group looks like as they move into crowd control formations. I'll give them a couple different looks to the formation. I feel better about doing that, seeing live troopers and the live SOG trained team doing it rather than PowerPoint type. Then we'll break, let them suit up. Now now we do the crawl, walk, and run training method of bringing that class up into the formations and into that response with it. A few areas that I try to cover with it, of course, are the basic formations so that they can fall in, they can form a formation and stand the ranks. Then I want to make sure that they understand what mass arrest is and how to conduct a mass arrest and what goes into it, and how to handle protesters, non-violent, passive protesters, as well as resisting protesters. Make sure that it's done in accordance to policy and they're trained in just how to handle and how we carry people. By the end of the day, we should be at a run phase where they can do a few of the basic formations and move in and make some contact. At this point, gas or riot control agents of whatever source are likely to be used in that event. You can expect CS gas and pepper spray. This is something that they can only get introduced to here in this training environment. At this point, I'm trying to stress to them once they get into that environment and there is a force on force, because we use our SOG troopers to be the op-4 or the counter, that they will have to clear that crowd out. They are actually SOG troopers, and they know when to turn, when to back off. I want them to get the maximum engagement as they can just before it becomes too violently physical. So they will actually have to physically move this group of protesters, which is our SOG team, and they will do that in a chemical or riot control agent environment. At this time, it is very important for this class and each cadet to know to stand their ranks and hold the grounds and complete the mission. And we make sure that every class does that. Those that cannot do it, we'll go through it again. But we will hold our line, and we'll hold our ranks, and we'll continue our mission.
All right, I'm Lieutenant Larry Smith. Been with the Mississippi Highway Patrol for 24 years now. Been in accident reconstruction for about 19 of those years. Basically what we do is anything to do with a wreck on the patrol, we're kind of the go-to guys for that. We do accident reconstruction, which is our main job, which consists of kind of putting the puzzle back together. You start from Z and work your way back to A in order to figure out everything that comes along in the wreck, such as speeds, proving who did what, you know, if you got any criminal elements to the wreck. Cadet can expect to have 3 weeks of intensive training on investigating collisions. Accident investigation is one of the more intense classes. It's obviously one of the critical courses. It's something that a trooper does every day of it, that he's at work. There's no way to get out of working wrecks on the highway patrol. And as a highway patrol, we're expected to be the wreck workers. We're who they call, who the SOPDs call when they have something that they can't figure out, or even if they need some help with a reconstruction on a wreck, they'll reach out to us to help them. So we try to give the cadets a well-rounded class, encompassing physical evidence, what to look at, what to look for, what it tells you. Damage on the vehicles is part of that. Taking witness statements, interviewing drivers, passengers. Once we have our 2 weeks of training on the last day of the first portion of our class, obviously there's a test, which is partly with written knowledge, where you have to answer questions, and we also have a simulated collision set up. Yes, it is a critical course, and we stick to that. We've sent people home for not passing this course, and we don't cut any corners on. If it's a passing grade is 70, then we say 69.9, don't cut it. What I'd like to tell the motoring public is as an instructor, I take my job very seriously, and I strive to train the cadets here, so when they come out, they've got a good groundwork on the proper way to investigate collisions.
Defensive tactics starts out, you know, from the most basic level on up into where a cadet graduates, where he or she can have those survival skills and those traits to defend herself on the road. Starts out with boxing. You know, we teach the very basics of boxing, where it's basically a fight or flight. We just want to see if that cadet will fight and not give up, and also to see how long she's willing, or he or she's willing to stay in the fight. And you know, once we take the gloves off, we go right into weapon retention, as far as grappling over a weapon, and we time them on that for several minutes, and that's immediately right after boxing. Well, it again, it you know, demonstrates he or she are willing to fight to survive. A lot of troopers get out here and we work limited or no backup. So we want to push that cadet, particular cadet, to see if they have the will to survive, to not wait on that backup and be dependent on others protecting that weapon, keeping that weapon. So many officers have been killed with their own firearm. We're big on teaching that weapon retention. We also go into teaching an impact weapon strike, more of a self-defense strike, whether it's non-lethal areas, lethal areas.
So hopefully he'll let go.
Responsibilities during this last patrol school was I'm a certified taser instructor. So basically that involves classroom portion, of course, going through what the taser is used for, the capabilities, and then actually, I guess the medical perspective of treating someone after they've been exposed to the taser in the field. And so, and then of course, once you've done all that, you actually expose the cadets to the taser, whether it be by clipping it onto them or actually shooting them with the cartridge, and actually using the darts. So, but after that, actually one by one, the ones that we actually shoot, we'll let the other cadets remove the probes, take an alcohol swab, wipe down the affected area, and then, of course, properly dispose of the darts and make sure they're treated the way they should be. So the taser, I'd say a good explanation of maybe what the taser would be used for would be if you had somebody that was unruly or uncooperative and wouldn't do what you wanted them to do, or maybe they're combative. The taser, like your other less lethal options, whatever they could be, pepper spray or beanbag rounds or whatever. So they all kind of fall under that same umbrella as a less lethal weapon, would be to gain control of the suspect or make them comply with what you want them to do or whatever, and that actually at the same time it minimizes injuries for the officers involved and the suspects. Keeps you from getting skin up, them from getting skin up or whatever. So the actual repercussions, I guess, from taser use, as long as it's used properly, are minimal.
As you know, we're starting to demonstrate this class. If that means anything to you, that means y'all are fixing to start getting introduced to some gaps. This is an important class for a simple reason. We're going to teach you how to properly seal your mask and make it safe. That way, if you come in contact with something while you're working the road, that under stressful conditions, you know how to properly put on this mask to save your life. Sometimes you can take that strap right here and kind of work it. Gas! Get them on! Calm down, get them on. All right, take it off. What's your name? Brian Herbert Moore. What's your date of birth? 9587. What's your social? What's your wife or girlfriend's name? Holly. You got any kids? What's your home county? What's your dream county? Lee County? Did you say Lee County? Lee! What troop is Lee County in? F Troop, District 4. District 4? Yes, sir. And you're cadet who? Herbert Bradbar. Okay, put on your mask. Sell it. Calm down. Tell him. What's your dream county? Tell him. Fight through it. How old are you? 31. 31? Calm down your breathing. Mask. I got it. Yeah, like you want it, Jones. Good. All right, take it off. What's your full name? Eric Jones. What's your date of birth? 2/22/79. What's your wife's name? Carol B. Hey, you're good. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. What's your home county, Jones? What's your dream county? Look at the board. Yeah, I do. You're a beast. You're good. You're good. Hey, you're good.
Lieutenant Dan Rawlinson, Range Director at Malota.
Master Sergeant Jacob Lott, Assistant Range Director at Malota. Been here at the range for going on 5 years now. And weapons that we use, we have a Glock 17 Gen 5 9mm. We have a Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm. And then we have a Rock River AR-15. And then the Remington 870 shotgun that we issue out to. Experienced shooter or first-time shooter, you're going to get the same training. Because the foundation is the most important, I believe, when you start out with anybody shooting. You want to know your basics of your stance, your grip. All that is very, very important. And a lot of times when you get to shooting, you forget about those things. So we try to instill it in them and go over it time and time again.
One of the first things that we do is actually go over the classroom portion of it, which would be actually the fundamentals, the safety, muzzle discipline, that kind of thing. And then as you kind of progress, you'll go into the sight alignment, proper trigger control, grip, stance, all those things. You got to put it all together in order to be proficient with the firearm. So as I said before, the classroom portion, once that's over, we actually go out to the range and start doing some live fire drills, maybe 1 or 2 shots at a time, and it's actually pretty close to the target, just to try to establish the muscle memory and the fundamentals of how to make shots. From there, we will actually go into the critical courses, or the courses that they have to pass in order to, as a critical course, firearms being one of them, they have to shoot a certain score in order to graduate the program. So there's what they call the state course. They'll do a night fire course, and then there's a couple others that we run. Some of them actually involve some running and shooting from a little bit further distance after the heart rate gets up. After you kind of establish the groundwork for the manipulation of the firearms, then you'll actually introduce them to different weapons platforms. Those being, we have a backup weapon, which is a Smith & Wesson Shield, 9mm, and then their primary weapon is a Glock 17, and then we also have AR-15s and shotguns.
You want to be in good health condition to go out there and carry your duties on a day-to-day basis. The circuit trainings that we do, is based on non-stop exercises so that you get your heart rate elevated. And even, the reason we do that is because if you ever encounter in a gunfight, that's the closest you can get it to be, the adrenaline rush of a gunfight. That's by doing those type of exercises non-stop and get your heart rate up. You got to be able to stop if you get in a gunfight. Like I said, you got to be able to make those accurate lethal shots with your heart rate being up.
Right. We have a pie plate range, so in that situation you can incorporate lots of different things as far as maybe moving and shooting, running down to a certain point on the range, and then maybe drawing your weapon. Engaging the pie plates. When your gun locks back, then you have to actually go ahead and perform an emergency reload. After we've done that, kind of toward the end of the firearms portion of patrol school, we try to incorporate a tactical shooting type scenario. There's several different things that we actually do. Sometimes we set up cars, make them actually maneuver around the cars and transition from one weapon to another.
And it puts them in situations to where they've got to work through it and figure out the best solution of what to do. And this is as real life training as it gets. And here we have a state-of-the-art facility here that allows us to do that and give them this training. And we've been fortunate enough to have some of these tools that allow us to give these cadets better training. That way they can go out there and serve the public better.
choose the rules and regulations. That is the first thing that each student must learn to come through the driving program, the policy. We teach that right off the top. Before we get into the practical part of it, we must know the policy before we even start the practical part. The practical part is a very important part, but knowing the policy is the most important part, so that we would make sure that we would abide in the policy with all calls. I spend about 40 hours a whole week with the cadet that come through the program. I teach them to drive their car. There's a two-part series that we would teach them to drive to stay alive, to do maneuvers, we use the ski of hand to demonstrate such driving skills to the best of their ability, to show them how to better operate their cars, to be professional drivers, to drive around things, to master their car.
The main thing we try to instill in everyone is that just how to maintain the vehicle, how to keep control of the vehicle at all times. When it appears as if you're losing the vehicle or whatever, in a lot of cases you can just let the steering wheel go and the car straighten itself up. It's not to get afraid of driving the car, but to just learn how to handle the car and do it in a safe manner. One of the things we like to do is we want you to drive roughly 85% of your driving ability. And even in the process of driving 85% of what you've been taught to drive, there's still a possibility you can lose control of that vehicle. The main thing we teach is when you feel yourself losing control of the vehicle is to basically take your foot off of the gas, let the steering wheel go, and the car's gonna straighten itself up. Don't do anything other than that, and you'll see the results once the car straightens itself up. Then you can get back in it and drive it the same way you were driving prior to. The hardest thing for a cadet to learn is how to shuffle steer, holding your hands at the 9 and 3 position and not letting your hands cross over. Because what we don't realize is prior to coming into the way we drive is if your hands cross over, a lot of times you're overexerting the car or overcorrecting the steering on the vehicle. So as long as you're at the 9 and 3 and that wheel is steady shuffling through your hands, the car's gonna do what it's supposed to do. The whole objective of the vehicle is to go straight. So whenever you cross over or grip the steering wheel, you're stopping the vehicle from doing what it wants to do.
What we do on the pursuit, we call it a pursuit, or we have an inner city pursuit, which is the inner city, and then we have what you call a highway pursuit. And it is where you put a bad guy up front and put the officer behind, and we also teach that officer in every aspect not to replicate what that violator does. Even though that violator may run past a cone or he might hit a cone, but for him to be able to use his maneuverability ability of that vehicle to drive around cones, to keep that vehicle in control, keep that violator in sight, not to make the same mistake that violator. Keep a proper distance, 4 seconds behind each vehicle. But with that being said, for many years I teach 5 to 7 car lengths behind each vehicle because you can't go wrong. But even in the general orders, it's about 4-second rule.
From my point of view and my experience of what it's like to actually be a TAC officer, it not only starts the day you begin, the cadets arrive, it starts months out, preparing yourself physically, mentally for the task at hand. You know that you're going to be setting an example here, and you know what you're coming into. It's not basically an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job. You're up before they are, and you're basically going to bed before they are with an enormous amount of paperwork and responsibility you have. To me, that's probably one of the most the most entrusted thing that a person could have was just being entrusted to a human being, to care for a human being. And that's what you're there. You know, a lot of people think that TAC officers are there to just be the bad guy, but behind the scenes, I mean, you're their care provider, their mother, their daddy, everything. And it starts months before you even get here. I mean, you got to physically prepare yourself and mentally prepare yourself. If you don't, you know, when you get here, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. I've seen a lot of guys can't come here that wanted to be TACs, and you know, after a week or so, they just decided it wasn't for them. You know, guys that were in great shape, same as a cadet coming here. It's an enormous responsibility to overtake. As far as the attention to detail and corrective action training here at the academy, it's not actually to be just the bad guy. It's the little things, you know, peripheral vision, everything from shoes not being tied and laces not being tucked, to threads on uniforms, to gig line, just every little thing, name tags, name plates, chow line, every little thing that we do here all applies back and goes back to the road and the job that you do. When you're out on that road, you got to notice everything that's going on out there and everything that's happening on the traffic stop. From not only what they're doing to what the people in the vehicle's doing, to what the traffic's doing, you got to be aware, totally aware of what you're doing. And that's why we do a lot of the corrective action training, just to instill, to drive home the importance of knowing what's going around you and your surroundings 24/7 when you're on that road. When you got that uniform on, you're surrounded at all times. Because if you don't know where you're at and what you're doing and what's going on, things could get bad for you.
That if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. You got to keep moving and keep plugging away. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, that it's possible that you can make your dream become reality. Not only is it possible for you to have your dream, it's necessary that you have it, that you work on it, that you develop yourself, that you go for what is yours in the universe. The major key to your reaching your dream, your living up to your greatness, your making your contribution is you. You must have faith. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in your abilities. Everything in you is telling you to stop, to give up. Every muscle is aching. That you don't give up, that you don't take any objection or disappointment or defeats personally, that you keep on keeping on, that you don't decide that I can't make it because you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you realize that's a part of the program. And you're saying to yourself, I can't do it. But you know that in order for you to get where you want to go, this is one of the hoops that you have to flip through.
Anyone wanting to be part of our team should know a few things. We are a tough club to join, a tough team to make. And that's exactly the way we're going to keep it. There are no individuals in patrol school. You can't make it alone. You must have an overwhelming desire to be successful, and it must be larger than your fear of failure. It can be done. It won't be easy. You have to take it one day at a time. Upon graduation, you'll have joined one of the most distinguished law enforcement families in the nation, the Mississippi Highway Patrol.
These gentlemen sitting over here are going to be working shoulder to shoulder with you should you get out of here and have the honor enough to wear that uniform. And you're going to appreciate everything they put you through when you get out there in the real world by yourself. God bless you and Godspeed to you. I look forward to seeing all of you May 1st.